also, that's one of the goals that we try to do here, is both support the students that come through our programs, as well as continue to offer them opportunities to work alongside us. And the big thing here is we don't do like coffee with our interns. They put on these incredible events. I did want to say just a few things before I turn it over. So I want to start by providing 3 numbers for us to think about as we go through this evening. 60 billion, 78%, and 0.27%. So in 2024, it was estimated by the nonprofit think tank, the Brookings Institute, that Black women-owned businesses contributed $60 billion to the U.S. economy. Since 2017, the number of Black-owned businesses with at least 3 employees has grown 78%, which outpaces any other demographic in the entire country. And then that 0.27%, that's the share of venture capital funding going to Black women-owned businesses, according to a research study by Goldman Sachs. Yeah. So if we think about those numbers, Black women are building businesses, creating jobs, serving their communities, and contributing billions of dollars towards our economy. I would say that the growth is undeniable, the talent is undeniable, and the ambition that we're seeing in that 78% number is completely undeniable, yet the investment in this support has not kept pace. The thing that isn't talked about is that 0.27% represents more than just a funding gap. So if you're familiar with startups and entrepreneurship and what it takes to build a business, that represents businesses that could have expanded but didn't have the capital. It represents ideas that deserved an opportunity but didn't receive one. And above all, it represents entrepreneurs that far too often have been asked to accomplish more with much, much less. And so that's why evenings like this matter. Tonight is about recognizing women who have taken an idea, turned it into something real, or women that are supporting entrepreneurs here in the Valley, recognizing those long hours, the risks, the sacrifices that you take in order to do that. And also recognizing that this important and underserved demographic can find support and resources here in Mercer County, in Western Pennsylvania, and here at the eCenter. So we're really proud of all of that. With that, I'll turn it over to our moderator, Quentin Lee Jr., and our panelists, Chauncey Brown and Fontineese D.
So first off, I want to thank you guys for coming up. Please give them another round of applause. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Quentin Lee Jr. I am an intern here. I co-own and operate a mobile car detailing business, and I'm a Sharon native. So that's a little bit of a background on me. I want to thank you guys for coming out tonight. Not only celebrating these 2 wonderful women, but also Black-owned Business Month. It really is, it's nice to see how far we've come. And these 2 are a perfect example of that. So I want to pass the stakes to them. If you want to start here, just tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and pass it.
It's something, because I was surely going to put Chauncey right here in this seat. So my name is Fontineese D. I've been an entrepreneur now for maybe collaborating with my husband, maybe about 15, 20 years now. But for myself, I am a local real estate agent. I've been selling real estate for the past 10 years, actually. I'm a commissioned notary. And my new recent position is the new site manager for Biz Centrl here in the eCenter that I'm really excited about. Yeah, I love entrepreneurship. I think because it gives me my time freedom. It allows me to make as much money as I want to make. And it gives me the ability to raise my daughter, who's 8, and I can, be a part of her life more consistently. So, yeah.
Hi everybody, my name is Chauncey Brown, and I'm the founder of Arms Reach, which is a fragrance house. I've been working on this project for about 3 years now. We officially launched in June, which has been really exciting. But before that, I've been in education. So I was a teacher for 6 years. I taught middle school language, arts, and science, and most recently kindergarten. I've lived everywhere, as my mother knows. I move every 2 years, it seems. But I've taught in Mississippi, I've taught in Houston, and DC most recently. I left the classroom in 2018, and I started doing teacher coaching and was an adjunct at Johns Hopkins for 2 years. And then the pandemic hit, I kind of wanted to figure out what the right next step was, which I think on paper would have been to be a principal, but that's just not my current ministry. So I moved into ed tech. Did that for 2 years where I was helping mitigate learning loss as a result of the pandemic through like literacy. And then after that, I decided to go back to school. So I went to Harvard to study education policy and analysis. While I was there, I was an equity and inclusion fellow. So I did some work with the superintendents across the state of Massachusetts, trying to really get to the bottom of some of the representation gaps we were seeing in the classroom with students versus teachers and administrators. Did some work around that, worked with Boston Public Schools as well, and most recently completed a fellowship in DC where I worked to support mental health clinicians that were in the DC charter schools. So I've been in education, did a lot of different things, but I think this work has really allowed me to be more creative and really express different sides of myself and talk to people and have conversations I find really interesting. So I'm really grateful that I made the transition last year.
Now you guys both have very extensive resumes. We really appreciate you guys taking advantage of the space we have here. So you guys just want to talk a little bit more about the journey. Like you said, COVID happened. I'm sure that was a big setback. Maybe talk about the beginning, where you are now, any hardships, anything like that.
Well, I can start. So like I said, I was in education for 13 years, and then I went to Harvard. Thought that was like would really open a lot of doors for me, being a part of the institution, but it was a really difficult time. I knew that it would be significant just having that on my resume, but I really didn't know what the cost would be in terms of the mental, financial, emotional strain of an institution like that, being a Black person in a school there in Boston. And I went there during a very tumultuous time. So we installed the first Black female president, Dr. Claudine Gay, and the next week were the Hamas attacks. So our campus was really tumultuous. A lot of classmates I had were doxxed, so there was a band that rode around with their full names, pictures on them. It just felt really unsafe, and we were really unsure of what the experience was. So I was really struggling during that time with some like personal things and not really getting what I wanted to out of an experience like I thought Harvard would be. But instead, I was like, okay, after my first semester, now I'm the type of person, I do too much, so and I think that's a lot of Black women's problem, honestly. I was like, I'm only here for a year, let me take 20 hours, let me do 3 fellowships, let me do this, and I did all of it, right? And I did it well, even. I graduated with a 3.8, which I'm very proud of. Yeah. But I didn't have to take myself out in pursuit of that. It was unnecessary. And my therapist was like, she said, Chauncey, you naturally operate at a 10. What does it look like to do a 2? And I'm like, I don't know about a 2. That doesn't really sound me. But she's like, just try it, see what it's like. And I took her advice, and it really helped because I was able to build the brand. So they have something called the Innovation Lab, and they help you, they put you in front of people similar to this, where like they have different connections, the big wigs across the different companies or whatever. Now I was able to balance class. I think I had class maybe 2 days a week versus every day, all day, to 2 days a week, and I was able to spend a majority of the time building this brand and really getting the qualitative research, asking questions, talking to people, getting the idea out there, getting holes poked in it so I knew it was firm. And it's been a ride. So I would say, like I said, I started in 2023. I met a mentor who is a fragrance shop in the DC area. She's been mentoring me once a month just to figure out, I know the creative part, I knew I wanted to focus on Black people with the brand, but the business, how do I translate that to dollars, right? How do I have conversations about the Black experience that people also know is going to be profitable? So she helped me kind of have those conversations. Like I said, we launched officially free commerce in June. Several people in here are customers, so thank you. I appreciate that. And it's just been a wild ride. Like I think we've had so much support from the brand as well. I think being really clear about what I wanted to be true that I wanted to focus on the Black experience. I didn't want to waver in that. Was really important. I think because I always knew that was the thesis and that was it, people gravitated towards it. So as a result, Kickstarter backed us. We were a product they love. Through that, Pinterest has reached out to work with us. We did a Kiva loan and HP Enterprises backed us. I was a runner-up for a Shopify award in January. And it's just been a lot of support. I think that people really recognize the authenticity, that it's not wavering, although I plan on expanding past fragrance, I'm still sticking true to building this from the inside of my community, and people are really connecting with that.
That's so good. I believe that for me, as far as maybe hardships, just through my journey, has been, first of all, being an introvert in an extroverted world, right? Ooh, I didn't know how I was going to become who I was called to become. I didn't know how I was going to get there because I was such an introvert. And I believe that through time, I was able to learn how to balance building a business, being a part of my community, yet also learning how to self-care for myself. Because like Chauncey said, Black women have to do more, 5-10 times more than our counterparts have to do in order to be successful. It's unfortunate, but it is the God's truth. And so when you start to deal with that mental of it, and it's like, you want to go, but is it worth it? Then you have people who see your gift, right? This is my experience, people who see your gift, and that's what they want. They just want the gift. They just want what you can do for them, the resource that you are to them. And so I believe throughout my entrepreneur journey, it's having to know and to understand who and what you're called to do. It's being authentic to who you are and not to who somebody else says that you are. Authenticity has been what I've been able to accomplish for myself, which in turn builds my community. I was helping entrepreneurs in their business, grow their business, and learning how to leverage their business. But I was doing it out of servanthood, right? Because that's, a lot of times, that's what we do. We serve with our gift instead of allowing our gift to open doors for us. And so I say all that to say, that's when I believe, I'm a woman of faith, right? I believe I wouldn't be here without it. And I believe that's where I connected with Biz Centrl, and that's how I'm here today in this current position, is because I was already doing it, and I believe that the Lord opened the door for this to happen, because I don't even know how it happened. Like, me and Bradley was sitting having a conversation, and then all of a sudden he was like, I got somebody that you should meet. And it just like fell into place, but I believe it was because of my authenticity. It was because I was willing to not listen to the naysayers and not, and do what you're called to do and not worry about everyone else around us. So I believe that was one of the greatest challenges for me, was to be authentic and learn who Fontineese was and roll with that.
That's great advice. Definitely got to take that into account. I'm going, in year 3, so it's good to hear some words of wisdom. Now looking ahead, the next maybe 5 to 10 years, is there anything specific that you guys have planned or working on now to kind of get to where you want to be at?
Yeah, I think my goal always for Arm's Reach was that if they can look up in every part of their house is Arm's Reach. And so I knew I wanted to start with fragrance because that was something that I was just really interested and passionate about. but I also feel we can tell our stories in different mediums. So I do plan on moving to like home textiles and wallpaper and furniture and lighting. And I have some other more like food ideas I want to get out there too. I just think it's really interesting the ways I've been able to connect different stories across the diaspora through the fragrance medium. I want to get that right though. I don't want to just jump to the next thing. So we do have our next 2 collections already in works. I worked with some interns last fall to help me just increase the research and development arm of Armstrong, because it's a lot, for one person. But we are doing that again too. So I have a solid team of people that I kind of outsource and contract within the business that really help me bring things to life. And I'm really excited to see where we are in the next 3 to 5 years.
That's awesome. The next 3 to 5 to 10 years, wow, cute. Wow. I want to continue to serve my community. I want to continue to see Black and brown young women know that you can come into a field like real estate and you can sell $1 million homes. You could be a top producer in a small rural area. You could be a person who helps other entrepreneurs get and leverage their businesses, and to teach them that entrepreneurship can be so dope, and so I want to be able to always talk to young people and let them know that it's possible. You can, just because there was a time where I was young in real estate, right? And at the time, I was the only person of color selling real estate in Mercer County. Y'all hear me? The only one. And there was, my colleagues were listing $400,000 and $500,000 and $600,000 homes, but my family from Farrell was calling me like, we want to list our property, we want to buy a property, you know what I mean? And I don't discount that at all. However, I want people to see us in the other areas as well of Mercer County, because why not? And so that's what I want to do, is I want to mentor agents, real estate agents. I want to bring in agents who look like me, who could sit at the table. Representation matters. It matters, especially in the home buying process, in the lending process, in the appraisal process of real estate, because stranger things have happened, So that's my goal, is to be a mentor to agents, to be a mentor to business owners, and just continue to serve my community.
Those are great answers. So now I want to open up the floor to you guys. I don't know if anyone has any questions. You can just feel free to ask. We can pass around the microphone, however you guys want to do it. But you can have some questions, whether they're just business related or kind of more tied towards their specific companies at all. Just feel free to ask any questions.
So what do people who are in the rooms where you want to be but aren't getting in those rooms need to understand about the opportunity you represent to help not only them but the future?
I think that they have to understand, and I believe Bradley had read some statistics earlier, that Black women are the bomb. And everything that we touch multiplies. And it's not that, it doesn't necessarily have to be a race thing, however, it is. And that what we do, we enhance, and that it would make sense for me to be on your board, because I have an understanding of some things that you may not. And that I can help grow and expand your companies. So I feel like that's important to understand, is that we are essential to your companies and your boards.
And I think going off that too, I really like how you started it, because a lot of people don't understand the purchasing power of Black people. The research I've done is really astounding in terms of the capital and what Black people put into communities. And I think we could have conversations about why that is, but it is what it is. So in that, we need to, how can we maximize? And I think ultimately, in the research I've done, people just want to feel seen. They want to feel like someone cares about them. And oftentimes the ways we view Black and Brown communities is very reductive or very deficit based. So we need people in the rooms that actually care, can give them a voice, give a platform to people who could connect with them in nuanced ways that aren't always Black and white, because we do live in a gray area, and recognize the spending power behind that. And I think that's what's often is missing from these conversations. I think people often, especially in the work I've done, working in tech, I think people often act as the doctor in the pharmacy, right? So they kind of tell you what the problem is, but also have the solution. And they don't ever talk to the people who are taking the medicine. What's actually going on from your perspective, right? And that doesn't always mean what you're telling me is going to be implemented 100%, but it means I'm going to take that and as I formulate what we're going to do. And that part is not done to the extent it needs to be. So I think they're missing a lot of nuance, a lot of conversations, and leaving a lot of money on the table by ignoring the needs of communities that they feel they're best positioned to serve, just given their platforms, their nuance, their money, their title. There's a lot that goes into our spending, our community, that needs to be shared and highlighted and celebrated, as opposed to just looked at as a problem always to solve.
I want to ask, what are some foundational and essential pieces for success, and how would you sustain it?
One of the foundational pieces that I use not only in business but in life is relationships. One thing that I teach my mentees is that, because most times we are in a transaction-based business, but relationships are they're going to sustain you more than this transaction. This transaction is one time. I might not ever see you again. However, if we build a relationship, then that could sustain me for many transactions. You understand what I'm saying? It's about leveraging those relationships, and authentically now, not fake and phony and and all of that, but that's one foundation that I definitely hold on to.
I would say clarity around, I call it the thesis. So like, what's the one thing you want to be true about your business? Because that's what people are going to come after first. I know for me, when I decided I wanted to make a fragrance company about Black experience, the first thing people told me, and they still tell me this, or ask me, well, how will this group feel if they didn't see themselves, if the world wasn't built for them, right? And that was, people ask me that all the time, to the point where I'm like, am I in the wrong for wanting to care about Black folks? Like, is it a me issue? But I recognize, like, if I didn't stay 10 toes down on that, then there was no brand. So there always has to be things that you're flexible with. Maybe the execution looks a little different, and you maybe tell a different story, but you have to be committed to the story, right? And I think that's really important, because they're going to come at it from every angle. And if you even look like you're questioning yourself, they're going to keep pouncing for it. And I just simply said, and the thing is, I'm very clear about what I want to do, but to different groups, I have to say different things, right? So some people just care about the money. So I have to lean into, well, Black consumers, they use, 63% of us use fragrance every day, so it's a ritual. It's not a nice to have, right? Or we spend $125 million a year in fragrance. I'll be fine. I have to have those different conversations. I have to speak different languages, but it's still rooted in the Black experience, right? And I think, so I'm sorry that your wife might not see herself in this, but I can't solve her problems. You know, I don't engage in that community all every day. I know, and I don't even know the whole Black experience, right? I know the Midwest experience. I've lived all over the place, but like, I can't tell you what it's like to be from California. I don't know. But my team is built in a way where we can have those nuances amongst each other so we can still be true to what our thesis is.
I would ask, how would you go about finding connections and building a network of connections?
That's a really good question. I think for me, I had to get rid of like shame and embarrassment because I'm introverted too. I mean, I'm a gapper. I like to talk. Don't get me wrong, but it takes me a while to like warm up to people. You know what I'm saying? But when I am warmed up, you can't shut me up. But it takes a minute to get there. So I think for me, I had to be like, okay. I remember, like for example, one of my mentor, I went into her shop and I didn't know she would be there, and I was like, I saw her walk in. I'm like, okay, she's like the fragrance Beyonce to me. So I'm like, this is my shot. I have to say something. You know what I mean? I don't know what I'm gonna say, but I have to say something. So I said, look, do you do mentoring? Just a quick entry. Just have a quick question you could ask. She's like, well, no, tell me more. I was like, listen, I'm in education that has nothing to do with fragrance. I want to be in fragrance. Can we work together? And she was like, oh, yeah, absolutely. It's like, I think people are more, you'd be surprised how much people want to ask, give you information if you just ask for it. I think in fragrance specifically, it's very much a good old boys club. It's not for Black folks really at all. The world is very tight knit, but because I was so clear on the vision, even before I had a single product out, they're like, I have to work with you. So like, what do you need? People gave me their time a lot, you know? And obviously, once I built those relationships, I always continue to nurture them, check-ins, hey, this is their progress, you know? And that really helped me kind of build the people that I know, because a lot of these like industries are really small. Everyone knows each other. So if you know one person, they can connect you. They might not be the person, but they know the person type of thing. Just gonna always have a quick question or something you can, you know, grasp. A lot of cold outreach. I think getting no's, getting turned down, that's gonna toughen you up too, because I hear no all the time, and so it just means nothing to me. Because I've heard a lot of yeses too, and they've got me in rooms that I wanted to be in.
That's so good. So personally for me, the way I did it, again, introvert. And now I've learned I'm kind of like an ambivert now, so I'm doing pretty good. But the way I did it was, because I was such an introvert, I built a brand on social media, right? I started doing photo shoots. I started posting on social media. I started engaging people there. Another thing that I did was, a part of my authenticity was, I started wearing earrings. Like, people know me by my earrings and my hair, right? So I would go out into spaces and people would be like, they would speak first. This, telling y'all. People would start saying something to me first. I'm an introvert. I'm not gonna talk first, right? So they would see my earrings and they'd be like, oh my God, I love your earrings. And it would give me the entry, right? Because I didn't have to talk first. And so that's how I started building the relationships. I found what worked for Fontineese, right? And then I used that to my advantage to start meeting and, you know, smooching with the people, you know. So that's what worked for me. So, and because of that, I was able to then let my guard down a little bit, right? And then now we're creating relationships and we're able to sustain them now. So that's what worked for Fawn.
Two questions. One, okay, so it's specific to each of you. One, what inspired you to become a real estate agent? And then what inspired you to get into fragrance?
So what inspired me to get into real estate was, I wanted something for myself personally. That's where it started. I wanted to do something different. I was an office manager. I was doing like office stuff, and I was like, my kids were starting to get older and I didn't want to lose them. I wanted to be more involved with them. And so I got into real estate, thinking that it was for me, right? I was this for me. But little did I know that it was all God for me. Like I was beginning to meet people who were not just first-time home buyers, but they were first-generational home buyers. And so that's what I realized was the mission. They needed to see someone that looked like me, looked like them, to feel comfortable within the process. But yeah, I started it because I thought I was doing this big thing for my family, for me. It was selfish at the beginning, but then it turned out to be such a beautiful experience. Been here 10 years now, so yeah.
I've always loved fragrance. I remember like as a teenager, early 20s, you know, Sephora used to get 3 free samples. So I would go in there almost every chance I could get, and I would always get the same one, which was Decadence by Marc Jacobs. It's my favorite fragrance of all time. But I could never afford it. It's always so expensive, you know, so it's just okay, I love it, but it's not for me. But as I was getting older and really getting more interested in niche stuff, stuff that you can't really find in Sephora or Ulta, I was looking at it, I don't really see myself represented. If this looks nice, it smells nice, but why am I spending hundreds of dollars on something that they might have a model at the end, on the poster, but there was nothing about the process that included me. And when I was at Harvard, I studied qualitative research, so the big question really was and I've always been interested in how people make meaning of their lives. So what happens to them, and how do they determine what means what, right? And I wanted to combine the two. So I've also, in other research I've done, scent is the most powerful connection to memory that you have. And so I was okay, that's really interesting. And I know that growing up, there's certain things I'm if I smell mothballs, am I Mom and Addie's house? If I do this, I'm all these different places. Because it's that powerful and strong. But I'm how do we tell stories about it? That's not about resilience and overcoming, but just kind of existing as we are. And so the first collection I have back there for y'all to smell is about the experience of Black students at Harvard. It's called Black Ivy. And I interviewed about 20 of them, and tell me what it was, good, bad, and different. And I just found so many through lines across all of them. And I was how do we translate that to scent? So it feels like the first one, City on a Hill, is about arrival, getting that acceptance letter. How do I translate that to scent? You want to kind of, with pride, right? In Not Of is our second scent, and that's about the disconnect between what you thought would happen and the reality. So it opens with a cantaloupe note, because that's that sweetness, that deception, people smiling in your face, but the dry down's different. Not that it's not beautiful, it's still Harvard, right? But it's not what you expect. And then the last one is Juna, and that's a celebration of community. What did people do in spite of reality, which was find each other? And so I wanted the sense to tell a story as they were telling me the story. Some people rap about it, they do music or TV and film. I just chose fragrance as that medium. Thank you. They are available for sale too at the end of the
I do have a follow-up question for both of you, obviously. Can you tell us about one of your best real estate deals? And then can you share with us maybe one of your best fragrance moments? Whether that's, you have mentioned mothballs. Your best fragrance memory.
Well, I would say related to this, because I've been a teacher for so long. So when I went to a Black-owned, I was a Black fragrance conference in New York in October, people oh, you Chauncey from Arms Reach? I'm yeah, who's asking? It was so weird to not be Miss Brown. You know what I mean? So I think that was it. I think scent-wise, I think going into as my mom actually, she had a scent growing up. I don't know if you remember, but it was a vanilla fragrance spray that I always wore around middle school. And one day I was trying to, impress a boy and had it all sprayed down and dropped it. And she was not happy with me, but it was so when I smelled vanilla, I'm ooh, my mom might be mad. I kind of stay away from those things. But it just, there's so many different things you can think of, that really connect to scent. I think it's so powerful, good or bad. So you really have to be careful about how you, use it in the industry I'm in. But yeah, there's just so many. I think some of them are fun, light, more challenging. Sometimes maybe an ex or something, you every time you smell that, you think of them, that person. it's really powerful, but I think the ways we're telling the story helps kind of transcend all of that.
No, but never.
No, but no.
So I think one of my best real estate sales was, I had this young lady, she was 19 years old, and she came to me and she said, Miss Fawn, she off Facebook, Miss Fawn, I want to buy a house. So we would talk and all of that. We found her a house. Her mom came to closing, but what was so significant about that was they moved a lot. So stability was difficult for that family. And at 19 years old, she came to closing and she brought her mom, and it was like a whole cry fest because she felt like now she's stable. She's got her own home, and I can't even think about it too long for it to make me cry. But it was beautiful to see her and her mom like embrace it, me give her keys. It was just amazing. So yeah, that one still got me by the heart.
Yeah, this lands well. One thing I notice is y'all talk very well. You communicate very well. I come from the sciences, and I didn't know the value of that, and it has meant more and more to me as time goes on to be able to wield words, thoughts, and ideas, and like you were saying, relationships, and the mothball experience. That definitely was in my house. So some comments. So I come from this experience, like I can really relate to your experience. I come from this experience because I grew up poor. We were into projects. My school, I was just the opposite of you guys. I was like one of a handful of my race. And so your experience and my experience is very much alike. And this gentleman who asked about how do you get into the inn and into the experiences of the community. So I come from the outside here, not far away, but it seems like a million miles. I was from Somerset County. And the very first question trying to do business here is, where are you from? I'm not from Mars. I'm happy to do business with you. I don't know how to make that question land properly, but it seems real important to the peoples of Mercer County that you're from Mercer County, one of the high schools, graduated from one of the high schools. There's some comments I'd like you to address.
Well, I know for me, I graduated from Farrell High School.
Hello.
Okay. And when you belong to the community of Farrell, it is very much family. Everybody knows everybody, but there's a lot of pride that we take for our community, our school, our sports. However, I feel as far as doing business with someone, I believe as long as and I know if I know this, but our morals and our ethics, and we can come to a level of agreement. I don't care where you're from. You can be from Mars, maybe. But I think that, and I think that maybe that's what you're hearing is a sense of pride and a sense of community that you could be hearing. That maybe and I don't know you. That maybe that's not what you're used to. I'm not sure, but I believe that in our area, it's just a sense of pride and community. So that's what I would say to that.
Well, I would say we have to be, because words are important, we have to be careful about like the associations we make with certain groups, right? And so I think given your background, that doesn't automatically mean that you understand another person's experience based off assumptions that are made about them. I think also, given today's political climate, people have to understand skepticism and not run away from it, but lean into it and view it as a responsibility to disrupt. And what I mean by that is, if I, knowing what's going on, with Black, brown people being constantly under attack all the time, you have to understand like the history, the origins, the why behind it, and not just view it as something that's like negative or that doesn't hold any merit or weight. And you have to think about, okay, if I'm coming to this as a white man, these environments as a white man, what does that mean for me? What new responsibilities do I have to ensure that people feel comfortable with me being in their presence, in their space? Am I taking up space that's not mine? Am I disrupting the pattern? Am I trying to extract, or am I really leaning into what's currently going on and building from that? I think it all is about approach, right? I think, to your point, I don't think people have a problem with working across lines, because there's so many differences we all hold, right? No one's monolithic. We all have something different about our experiences. But I think the through line is like I always say, we want people to know, people want to know that people care at the end of the day. And that they're going to go out of their way because of their intersections to prove that they care. They're going to show up a certain way and be respectful of what's before them. And so I think that it really has to do with technique and approach, as opposed to making broad assumptions about what you think a community is going through, what a community is experiencing. Especially if you're not in community with them, you're not talking to them, are you talking at them? So these are questions that I feel you have to really ask yourself and sit with. How am I showing up in these spaces? What questions am I asking? Am I asking questions? Am I making assumptions? Like I always give like I gave the analogy earlier, am I the doctor and the pharmacist? Am I telling you the problem and prescribing the medication? You have to really be constantly interrogating how you're showing up in certain spaces to make sure that people feel comfortable with you being there. Because there's a lot of work being done. I know people always talk down on, Farrell and Sharon, but there's so much work being done. There's so many grassroots organizers that are doing amazing work that don't get the credit that they are because of the community that they're serving. So I think highlighting those, connecting those people in authentic ways is a way to kind of circumvent that.
I would like to say I do have a question. Want to just put it out there. You guys do speak so well, and like really seems like it's in a conversation with you guys, and that you guys have so many skills and certifications, and you guys have shot for the stars and the moon, and it is like really nice to hear your story. In any of your story, what was your biggest setback, and how did you know that like you were gonna overcome it and keep going, because like you remain more than just that setback, and to get your story out there?
There's so many. I mean, just to list them. I mean, being a Black woman, that's to me it's an advantage, but in a lot of the rooms I'm in, it's a disadvantage. People, automatically assume I'm antagonistic in my approach, and that's not the case at all. I'm not anti anything. I just love my people. So having to constantly prove that, it gets exhausting. I think also my resume, going to Harvard, people constantly, if I wear a Harvard t-shirt, you went there, like people, and it's even around here, it's insane. There were people that question my credentials as if I didn't earn my spot there. And that's a constant thing I think we all, have experienced, especially when you get to a certain level. And I think also too, people just constantly having eyes on you and having trying to watch your downfall a little bit. Looking over your things with a fine-tooth comb, not giving you grace, not leaving room for maybe misunderstanding, just automatically assuming the worst. I think though, I will say I give my grandmother a lot of credit because she really I remember at like 8 years old, I was writing letters to the city of Hermitage about streetlights. Like that's just how I was always that person, and she raised me to be that person. And so I knew that like the opinions of those didn't matter, good or bad. So I remember that because like if I believe the good that y'all say, I always have to believe the bad too. It can't be one or the other, it has to be both. So I was like, what do I believe is true? How do I go to sleep at the end of the day? And that's kind of how I overcome things. And just being honest with myself about, the hardships that I face. The money is really challenging having to build this business and keep it successful when it's a one-woman show. But being so committed and convicted that like I know it's gonna pop, and it is. I'm seeing results of that. But it is challenging because I think people just automatically sometimes assume the worst. Being a Black woman in this space and having to, I'm not a fake person. It's kind of what you see, what you get. But having to always combat that, and it's challenging in any field, but definitely beauty and fragrance.
No, I agree with Chauncey 100%. I think that there are times where when you're in a room, you have to let them know I'm in this room because I have something to offer, not to get something from you. Point blank, like you have a lot of zeros behind your name, but I don't need any of them. And it's just because you have to carry, as a Black woman, you have to walk in a room and you have to know that you're sent to that room. You have to walk with your shoulders back and your head high, and you have to, but realizing that the weight of the world is on those shoulders. It's walking in and having to have the confidence, and you may not have it, but you still have to stand there flat-footed and do what you're called to do while you're there. And having to, and not wanting to at the same time explain why you're there, who you are, I feel exhausted just trying to explain it right now.
It's exhausting.
Yes, it is very exhausting.
So I know you both, and I would say if you could just speak just a couple minutes to being a first generation entrepreneur. I know Dr. Yarbrough is here, right? But like retail, in that in that perspective, but at the same time, being that first generation entrepreneur and not having the dollars passed down from the previous generation like some of our counterparts, like starting from ground zero. I know you hit on that, but the pressure of that, can you speak to making a difference, and then especially passing that down to your children as well?
Yeah. Well, I think there was no blueprint, so I knew I had to make one, right? And I had to be committed to making one because I wanted to be able to pass this down too. I don't know whoever, but somebody, somebody's gonna get arms reach, I don't know. But it's really challenging because you just don't know what you don't know, and I really didn't know anything. So I had to be humble about that. I had to ask a lot of questions, ask everybody questions, and I was okay with that because I really wanted to know the information. The creative aspect of it, that was easy for me. That took nothing. But the business aspect, the numbers, the money, the who, this, the exit, I don't know any of that stuff. But I'm like, who can I be in a room with that's gonna answer these questions for me? And I'm always always work within a spirit of curiosity. But it is really challenging because I've seen on TikTok, there's a lot of pages that founders that, oh, my friend's neighbor just wanted to give somebody $50,000, and then I'm like, well, I need a neighbor, you know what I'm saying? Who's my neighbor? So it does get challenging. But I will say, when I first started this, I didn't have any money to put towards it. So that actually helped me because I can only answer to myself, and I could be as creative as I wanted to be. So I didn't know how much it cost to build a brand or do a deck. I didn't know any of that, so I could just be like, this is what I wanted to be true, and then find the people that could fit within a budget once I had a couple dollars. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of worked backwards in that perspective, but it made my creativity expand so much more than thinking, okay, I only have $5,000, I can only work with this person, I have to answer to this investor because he needs his money. It wasn't really, I didn't have those conversations, so I could really be as expansive as I wanted to. and then find the people that at my price point can match it. That was really helpful as well. I think now that I'm kind of getting to like what are the SOPs, what's the process, trying to figure out how to make it replicable and build the capacity of the brand. That's another challenge, but I think I have the vision really clear, so I know when I get the money, it's about just execution as opposed to trying to figure out how to spend the money, because I already know where it needs to go,
Yeah, first generation entrepreneurship, and there is no blueprint, and you have to, you have to try and find every resource that you can, because at our dinner table, we weren't talking about capital and owning properties and 401ks and insurance IULs, insurance policies. Those weren't conversations that we were having at our dinner table. Like, my mom was a single mom, so she was trying to survive, with 3 children. So you bootstrap, and you better be sure that this is what you're called to, because entrepreneurship is no joke. You almost have to be slightly deranged. Slightly deranged to be an entrepreneur, especially, again, as a Black woman, because you have to, and there's already stereotypes of, oh, this and oh, that with Black women. And so you have to be able to put yourself out there, but trying to build something that you can pass down to your children. A woman said, I didn't come from a wealthy family, but a wealthy family is gonna come from me. Point blank, period. And I think you have to set it in your mind that this is what I'm going to do. This is what's necessary. This is how we leave a legacy. And then you get in the room with people, because you don't know what you don't know. But you get in a room with people and you sit down, and let me tell you, always have a question. Well, what did you do? Who's your CPA? Who's your attorney? Like, where are you investing at? I had an opportunity to sit down with a man who, money galore. And I'm like, well, where are you investing? This man told me simply where I buy, where I purchase stuff from. I got Amazon. I got Lowe's. Oh, okay. But I didn't think it was that simple. But it's sitting down and having those types of conversations that can help you move, the needle of where you're trying to go in this entrepreneurship. So the pressure can be stifling almost sometimes to keep going. So, but of course, my goal is Gabby Green is getting House of DeVale and Greedy Green's lawn care. She gonna get it all. So, yeah.
So I don't have a question per se, but I did want to speak to both of you amazing women. Chauncey, I am born and raised Boston, Massachusetts.
Okay.
So with Jamaican roots,
Okay.
which makes it a little bit harder when you're considered foreign as well as African American.
Yeah.
So Orchard Park Projects, born and raised.
Yeah.
So to hear you say that type of work is being done up there to, make sure that there's teachers in there that looks, I didn't have that. Now the best education, absolutely. Like, I think they have some of the best education, period. But I didn't see anyone that really looked like me, especially in elementary, because we were bused to other
With
neighborhoods.
Metcos?
I didn't go to Metco.
Okay.
But I went to Condon Elementary School, which is in South Boston, but I live in Roxbury. So we were bused to different areas, opposed to here where you go to school in your district.
Yeah.
That's not how it was for us. I don't know if they do that now. But what was even more interesting was to hear your journey at Harvard. And I'm quite sure it resonated in the room, but for me even more, because when I was interning at Mass General Hospital, I had a job in Cambridge Square. So a lot of the Harvard students would come, to that job. For you to sit here with a Can we just give her just one more round? Like, one more round? Just working in Cambridge Square, Harvard Square,
Yeah, yeah.
was, yeah, I gotta give me another shot.
Nightmarish.
It was a nightmare.
Yeah.
So I salute you.
Thank you.
I am proud of you.
Thank you.
And it was just amazing to hear your story.
Thank you.
But I wanted you to know that I understand. I'm sure everyone else was like, you know, they in the, I understand.
get it.
I get it, right? Mrs. Fontineese Green, who is my mentor in my entrepreneurship, but she was also my mentor for real estate, right? So when I came into real estate, I've only been in real estate for a year. When I came into real estate, my brokerage had assigned me a mentor that did not look like me, which was fine. If you're gonna do what you need to do, let's get it done. So I felt as though my growth was not as important to her as it was to me, right? And Fontineese was heaven sent the way that we met, right? That's a whole nother hour story that I'm about to get into. However, I did go to my broker and I said, hey, I noticed Fontineese just became a mentor. And everything that I'm supposed to be doing in this book with my mentor, Fontineese has already poured into me. And I would like to switch. She was like, oh, I knew that was coming because you guys are friends, right? And I said, actually, I met her 5 days before I met you. So it's not about us being friends, like it was automatically assumed that we were friends. It wasn't about us being friends because I'm getting to know this woman. It's about the fact that I'm not even her mentee and she's pouring into me unselfishly. So I did not realize she would always tell me to get in these rooms. So I went to this big real estate meeting, my first one with her. And it was 3 of us in a room full of people who do the same thing we do, but it was 3 of us. I don't think people understand how hard it is, not only being a woman in real estate, but being a Black woman in real estate. I want to thank you because I didn't realize that in the first year of real estate, it's very hard. And I was hard on myself, and I beat myself up, and I'm like, I'm not doing enough, and you just kept telling me some people don't even sell a house in their first year. Well, coming up on my first year, I'm coming up in my first $1 million in sales. And that means like, thank you. Before you were even my mentor, and would you continue to pour into me? And I just want you to know that you are appreciated, and you are someone that people who look like us who want to get into real estate do look up to and reach out to. And I want to be the same. I want to be that person. And they say, oh, she can do it, I can do it, because you can.
Thank you, ma'am.
We have time for one more.
I just kind of wanted to piggyback off of something that Fontineese said as far as entrepreneurship and being a little bit deranged, a little bit crazy. To get into entrepreneurship as a Black woman, this is very tough. Like you said, there is no blueprint. You gotta make it up as you go. I'm first generation entrepreneurship. So when I started my business, I was a screen printer. I did custom screen printing. I was the first African American woman in the Valley to do screen printing. It's a white male dominated field at the time. So sometimes in order to get what you want, you gotta, we do that thing called code switch. We'll code switch. So I went to my white counterparts. Oh my God, I just don't know how to do this. Can you please help me? They were more than willing because they felt like they were giving me something that I got everything. They gave me this, they gave me that. Then I just said, you know what? Look, this is who I am. This is what I do. Even now when they walk into my shop, they don't expect to see a Black woman owning the shop. Oh, it's the owner here. 1 second. Here I am, yes, how can I help you? What is it that you need? Oh, okay, well, so I know you asked a question, I made a statement, and you said you hope it hits well. But when you came and you said, you're very articulate, you don't speak very well, as if we shouldn't. Now, I know that's probably not what you meant.
No,
Yeah, I know it's not.
nothing like that.
But that's what we hear. That's what we hear all the time. Oh, you speak so well. Oh, and not again. I just felt like I had to address that because it was really bothering me. And Chauncey, you did address it, but we get that all the time. As if we shouldn't speak well. As if we shouldn't carry ourselves a certain way. And for me, I'm not to come at you, but I just really felt like I had to address that because that's what we get. We are underassumed as if we don't really know what's going on. Like we don't know when we earned everything we got. We bootstrapped the majority of it. Like I've told my story before. I didn't have any money. I had life insurance. I took the cash value off my life insurance policy to get my first piece of equipment. Like I don't have any money. How do we do this? How do I do that? I bought a book, How to Screen Fit for Front and Part Fit. That was how I learned to do it. That and the Holy Ghost. I read that book cover to cover 3 times, other than going to some of my counterparts. But when you look at a black woman, we do it all. We have to. We have to. And sometimes we are looked at as if we don't know what we're doing. Oh, it's okay. Oh, I can. So yeah, let me get off my soapbox. But yes, that's some of our history, that's some of our plight, that's some of our journey. We have to work 3 and 4 times as hard to prove ourselves. Just to prove ourselves. So we can, feel like we've earned it. But we have earned it. We have earned it. We do daily. We put the grind in. Good. That's all.
First off, I want to say thank you guys. You guys did a great job with the questions, and thank you guys, coming out, sharing your story. Now at this time, you can feel free to stick around, enjoy some more refreshments. We do have our 2 food trucks still outside, so go show them some love and stay around, talk, network, do whatever you want to do, and enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you guys. At the end, these conversations are incredibly important to have, and I think here at the eCenter, we really have that privilege of being able to create a space where we can have those conversations. I think, one of the things that we are really hoping as we continue to have these conversations and work on is there needs to be, a little bit more diversity in our room as we're coming here. I think that it is really important. John, obviously appreciate you coming out, Brian who came out as well, but I don't think a lot of people, again, when we fall into kind of our lanes. So I had a company prior to this, I raised venture capital money. You don't realize until after the fact, we pitched in front of, call it probably 100 different venture capitalists. 0. There was 0 African American representation. The closest representation we had, and this is a little, a self-brag on this, and he ended up investing in our company, is Alexis Ohanian, who, if you know who he is, he's the co-founder of Reddit, but more famously, Serena Williams' husband. And so when you think about, when we talk about 0.27%, when I look at that stat, it immediately hits me it's pretty wild that, we went through this entire raising, multiple rounds of fundraising, and I think one of the big things is the conversations at the base just aren't maybe happening and aren't putting on its scale. But the only reason why we're even able to have these conversations is because, we have Chauncey here in the building, we have Fontineese here in the building, we have Quentin who, I probably should give some credit up here too, is an entrepreneur and runs IQ Mobile Retail. No, just really appreciate everybody who came out, and this is just the start in terms of the conversations we're going to have. There's going to be a lot more to it. Again, a big thanks to our interns, Anna and Rachel and Gwen, who put all of this together, put all of it on. And please grab food on your way out. They've been really patient. I hope they're still here, hanging out. So go grab food, bring it home, have it for tomorrow. But thank you all. Thank you, Chauncey, Fontineese, and Quentin,
Thank you.
so much.